Did a Russian scientist inject himself with a 3,500,000-year-old bacteria and become immortal? Wait, what kind of story is this? Well, throughout the history of humanity, many kings, alchemists, and scientists have desperately searched for the secret of immortality. And some of them even delved into rituals that I would say are quite dark. Others turned to chemical formulas, technological formulas. But what would you do if you knew that in a laboratory hidden deep in the frozen depths of Siberia, yes, Siberia, there is a man who may have found the ultimate answer? The name of this man? Anatol Brochov, a respected cryogeologist from Moscow State University, who discovered and dared to reveal, crossing all boundaries of ethics, science, and perhaps even human nature itself, a substance, a bacterium. I'm talking about Bacillus F, which carries the promise of immortality. And any connection to that movie, the substance, is purely coincidental, of course, right? But notice that once again, fiction is telling us what our future will be like. All of this started back in the icy soil of the Siberian permafrost, where Brochov led research expeditions. And guys, Brochov, his name reminds me, do you have Brochov? You know when you ask people over there, right? Sorry, I'm going to pretend I'm a serious person, but it was there in the permafrost, in a layer of ice untouched for more than 3.5 million years, that he found incredibly well preserved and still living bacterial life forms, right? And among them, there is a special bacterium that caught his attention. It's a strain named Bacillus F, whose DNA showed no visible mutations, even after millions of years frozen. And the detail that unsettled the scientific community was exactly this, because it's a bacterium with zero genetic degradation after ages of inactivity. Like, how is that possible? Then our dear friend Brochov, he believed he was facing a biological key to stop aging. And completely ignoring ethical protocols, he did the unthinkable. He injected himself with the same bacteria. No, he didn't submit the experiment to bioethics committees or wait for approval from regulatory agencies. He simply, of his own free will, became the first human guinea pig for Bacillus F, but it didn't stop there, okay? Because 20 volunteers, so we don't call them guinea pigs, right, who were close friends and even colleagues, decided to join him in this leap into the unknown, literally or figuratively, if you want to put it that way, right? They all underwent the exact same procedure, a sort of underground scientific cult where the altar was biotechnology and the sacrifice was their own bodies. And the first results they obtained, according to themselves, were increased physical strength, improved hormones, extremely high testosterone levels, and an inexplicable vitality for the age of the individuals involved. Could this be the sign of eternal life? Oh, guys, I want that. Vitality, that word, it's a word that honestly isn't really in my vocabulary anymore. But according to Brochov, the real power of Bacillus F isn't in curing diseases, but in preventing them from starting in the first place. The secret would be in a kind of cellular shield that encapsulates human cells, preventing the natural degradation of DNA and ribonucleic acid. It's a process directly linked to aging. The theory is as bold as it is terrifying. So it's like this. If you can prevent cellular entropy, you'll perpetuate youth. And then Brochov seemed to have enough evidence that his experiment was working. And his own tests from before and after the injection showed an organism that, instead of declining, seemed to regenerate. And then Brochov deepened his investigations in the Yakutia region, which is a small town in Siberia, in the exact same place where he found that bacteria. And there he identified some rather bizarre statistical anomalies. He noticed that the local inhabitants exposed for generations to soils contaminated by this Bacillus F have a life expectancy higher than that of countries with temperate climates like Italy and even the south of France. But more than that, these individuals can withstand temperatures as low as minus 40 degrees Celsius. And they walk to school, even in those blizzards. They live far away from modern hospitals, and yet they live longer than any other people who have ever set foot on this little planet. So is Bacillus F that bacteria he injected himself with? Is that bacteria part of these people's biology? And then in 2024, he, together with an international team, published a groundbreaking study in the journal Advanced Youth Microbiome Research. By the way, this experiment is real. I went to check. It exists. Well, at least the announcement of the experiment exists, right? The experiment's existence is uncertain, but it was indeed published in a scientific journal. And this experiment involved leukocytes from rats exposed to hydrogen peroxide, which is an oxidizing agent that normally destroys DNA. But when these rats were treated with that bacterium, with Bacillus st, the damage was reduced by half. The bacterium literally shielded the cells from aging. And there was also another study that they published in the Japanese Journal of Gastroenterology and Hepatology. And in that study, it showed a huge increase in testosterone production after ingesting the substance. And the physical effects were kind of obvious, right? It was increased strength, greater muscle endurance, and an unusual vigor for the age of the patients being studied. And at that moment, the eyes of investors, pharmaceutical corporations, and United States intelligence agencies turned towards Siberia. That's curious, isn't it? When a scientific discovery promises immortality, the first to knock on the door isn't the Nobel Prize, but the patent office. And that's when Brochov registered his first patent in 2012, way before the explosion in popularity of this bacterium, and even before the medicine they make with this bacterium. In fact, I checked and the patent is real. And then there were others as well, about the use of the immunomodulator, about the effects of geroprotectors, about improving the genetic quality of mammals, about using this bacterium as an antioxidant hepatoprotector, as an anti-inflammatory, and even as cellular radioprotection. But the most surprising thing happened in 2024 with the record that in the United States there is a patent that authorizes the use of Bacillus F in yogurt as probiotics. Yes, you're hearing it correctly, everyone. It's the Yogurt of Immortality. The plan seemed pretty clear, right? It's disguising the substance as a dietary supplement to avoid the pharmaceutical industry's draconian regulations. And that's when a very mysterious company appears, Athena Biotech, which is based somewhere in a remote corner of Siberia. The company works directly with Brochov and claims to have already developed a purified liquid extract of Bacillus F with 99.8% purity, and that it is associated with potassium for stabilization. According to the manufacturer, this product, which comes in the form of yogurt, acts as an immunomodulator, antioxidant, hepatoprotector, cardioprotector, geroprotector, anti-inflammatory, adaptogen, and anti-allergic. Oh, I want it. Oh, guys, I want it because, honestly, this spring is ruining my life. But it also acts as a hormonal regulator, as a DNA protector, and also against mutations and radiation. In other words, even against cancer. The list, obviously, is too extensive to be ignored. Could it be that we are facing what might be the first immortalizing tonic in human history? And honestly, guys, I wasn't really believing this story, no. I researched, found studies and patents, and then pursued the yogurt naturally. And I actually live pretty close to Siberia, and I looked for this so-called yogurt, looked for this so-called company, and I couldn't find it to buy. So I don't know if it's real or not. What I do know about this story is that the patent exists, and so does the research. Now, as for Dr. Brochov, that he took this patent and created a yogurt that can bring your vitality back, well, I think that's more of a conspiracy theory, you know? Because I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if he really created a yogurt with this whole story, if he created a supplement or didn't create a supplement. But they say, especially on conspiracy theory websites, that there's an interview with Brochov, an interview that circulated on the deep web. And in this interview, he revealed that the tonic is taken under the tongue in 3-month cycles with daily intake. And the official promise isn't eternal life, but there's a subtle marketing that hints at extended vitality, enhanced longevity, and even protected DNA. So those who read between the lines understand what's being offered, right? Could it be that the movie The Substance is becoming reality? It's unclear, as proper testing wasn't conducted. The potential side effects remain unknown. But with all the media hype, Brochov himself stepped out of the spotlight. That's what the newspapers say too, and attempts to contact him directly were denied. One of the few exceptions to these denied contact attempts was a group of investigators who managed to exchange emails with him, pretending to be scientists. So, for a brief moment, Brochov even invited them to visit the laboratory there in Russia. But when he grew suspicious of their true intentions, he cut off communication. So, since then, since 2024, it's been over a year, only technical publications have appeared, but never any open interviews directly with him. So I keep wondering, is this story real or is he trying to hide something? He openly says in his research that his goal is to extend human life by 10 to 100 times more than normal. And that phrase, it echoes like a modern alchemical mantra, right, guys? But he himself admits that he's not sure if Bacillus F can really achieve such a feat. They say scientific honesty saved him from absolute vanity, but even so, the parallels with vampire legends are inevitable, because the idea of beings living for centuries by feeding on some vital substance doesn't seem to be restricted to folklore anymore, right? Maybe science is just deciphering what myths have always hinted at. So, if there's a hidden biotechnological center of power, that center isn't in Silicon Valley, okay? It's located in the Siberian ice of Yakutia. I love Yakutia, by the way. Isn't it the elixir of youth? It's not the elixir of youth, but I love it. But in Yakutia, there in Siberia, with its resilient people, with its ancient bacteria, with its sepulchral silence, because honestly, you really don't hear much about it. And this place could be the real basis for what will eventually be sold as the elixir of eternal life. But what's at stake here, my people, besides longevity, goes beyond science. We're talking about geopolitical control, about a possible monopoly over life itself, about a technology that can be used both to prolong people's lives and to deny the existence of life to others. The case of Anatol Brochov is not just another case about biotechnology. I'm talking about the limits of human knowledge and the dangers we face when we cross those limits. Bacillus F might be real and effective, but the question remains, who will determine who gets to live longer and who doesn't? Right? It's not me, it's not you. Obviously, it's the pharmaceutical industry. And the game has already started, and the pawns don't even know they're on the board. With enriched yogurt, with sublingual drops, with patents, with contracts, with the trade of eternity. This trade already exists, just not in this form. When it does, you must be ready. Because we will be living in a new era of absolute control. Nowadays, there's already a bit of that, right? We can already tell who has money and who doesn't by the number of cosmetic procedures that person has done. People nowadays look like transformers because of so much facial disharmony or even facial demonization. This already shows us a bit about this longevity market, this eternal beauty market, which is a rather obscure market. Now, if this evolves in a way that it becomes an elixir that people take and get their vitality back, we're not just talking about a business that guarantees longevity for people. We're talking about real-life vampirism, something we only see in movies. So, how do these people get stronger than the others? Is it just because of this bacteria that exists in the permafrost? Or are there even darker things like fiction themes show us? Like that movie I mentioned, The Substance, which is extremely disturbing. Well, I'll leave these questions for you to think about. I want to know your comments. And obviously, if you've made it this far in the video, comment yogurt down below in the comments. Yes, that's our magic word for today. A big kiss for you all. And I'll see you, of course, if you allow it, in our next videos. Bye.